Firstly, I want to congratulate Minister Burke and Minister Higgins on their appointments and wish them, along with Minister Cleary, every success in their work in the department. Minister, I welcome the government decision to reopen the increased cost of business scheme, and I heard both Minister Burke and Minister Cleary in different fora encourage companies to apply. There was a rather simple application process, so I sincerely hope that that message can be got out, and the companies that are eligible to draw down this assistance apply and gain this much needed assistance towards increased costs, particularly facing the small-scale manufacturing, small-scale hospitality and small-scale retail. Thank you, Oireachtas.
Thank you, Ciarán, and I thank Deputy Smith for his kind wishes. I propose to take parliamentary questions 54, 58 and 63 together. The Government is very aware that the SMEs have faced a number of economic shocks in recent years, which has resulted in cost increases. On the 15th of May, I, along with my colleagues in Government, announced a substantial range of measures to reduce costs for small and medium-sized businesses. Including these measures was the reopening of the increased cost of business ICOB portal from the 15th of May to the 29th of May in order to allow rate-paying business owners who have not registered to do so. We have also received feedback that the process of registering is simple and quick. As part of the reopening of the ICOB scheme, and given the greater impact the increased costs are having on the hospitality and retail sector, as Deputy Smith has quite rightly pointed out, the impact assessment report by my department and the Department of Social Protection, Government has agreed that businesses operating in these sectors will receive a second payment from approved businesses or a double payment for new registrations under the scheme. To date, the up-to-date figures requested as of 3 p.m. on the 22nd of May are as follows. Cavan has 1,118 registered before the 1st of May. We have had additional registrations over the last week of 12. Monaghan has 1,198 which have registered before May 1st and have 8 registered since the scheme has reopened. So I'd really call on everyone to push on those figures to get them up, because this money is obviously here to support them. Donegal has 2,300 registered before the 1st of May, 67 since the scheme reopened. Leitrim 468 registered and has 3 since the scheme reopened. Sligo 997 registered since the 1st of May and 3 since the scheme reopened. Roscommon 952, 21 since it reopened. Galway City 1,878 and 23 since the scheme reopened. Galway County 1,832 and has 36 since the scheme reopened. Mayo has 2,456 and 42 since the scheme reopened. Tipperary has 2,361 and 35 since it reopened. Limerick has 2,727 and 82 since it reopened. Clare has 1,837 and 44 since it reopened. Longford 753 and have 14 since it reopened. Westmeath have 1,367 and 60 since it reopened. Laois 909 and 8 since it reopened. And Offaly have 949 registered before the 1st of May, 21 since it reopened. So I'd really call on everyone working together to really highlight the importance of the scheme. It is there, it is simple to use, and I would point out that there is a double payment for those sectors that are vulnerable, like the hospitality sector, as you referenced, and also in relation to the retail sector. I would also call on all the local authorities. It is so important to get this money paid, because there is a huge diversity in terms of going through the local authority network on ones that have paid. Some of them are well over 70–80% of approval from payment. We have about 63 or 4% now that have registered, so we're trying to increase that over the 2 weeks. We have a very strong advertising campaign now underway, trying to penetrate down to local businesses, local shops, because this grant is really substantial that will help them. Many of them will get an average payment of €4,000 under each round. So it could be €7,000 for some businesses, which will help them with cash flow. And I would point out this is part of the wider package, because we do need to be sustainable. It is important that we have the capital grant funding to help them with their energy efficiency grants, trying to transform their methodology by upgrading LED lighting or refrigeration, which can help by €1,000 a month on their bills, and also on the PRSI change, which will take effect from the 1st of October, because it's important that we do as an economy keep competitive and make it as easy as possible for employers to employ in a growing market, and a market that is very competitive, as you would have heard from Minister Higgins trying to respond to many of the challenges in the permit sector. So our bottom line is, I would say to Deputy Smith and other deputies, the registration is open. It can be done inside 2 minutes. You can do it on your mobile phone. You're only asked to populate your letter you got from the local authority, which will have your PIN. Put in your tax clearance cert details and press send, and that will ensure that the local authority is able to authorise you and the payments will follow right into your bank account. So that is very important to ensure that we are listening to businesses. And I've met a number of the business sectors, from the Restaurants Association to IBEC, ISME, many of the representatives that are trying to get that message out to businesses that this is here to support you, and it's important that you do draw it down. And what I would say as well is we have €250 million there. As we go forward to the next budget, it's important that that money is utilised by our SME sector, because if it isn't, it absolutely weakens my hand going into budget negotiations this year, because it's very easy to say that there's €250 million there and it wasn't drawn down. So I really appeal to people, get the message out there. This money is there for our businesses. It should be used. It's there to help them. And everything I can do, working with the deputies in the House, to try and articulate that to them and get the message out, I'm absolutely doing. And I spoke to the chairperson of the Finance Committee and the CCMA last night, really to get the word out to local authorities. I've wrote to all the chief executives in the local authority network this morning, outlining where their local authority features in the report that I've got, in terms of what is registered, what is approved, and critically what is paid out and in their bank account. And I'll be following up on that with Deputy Cleary and Minister Cleary and Minister Higgins over the next few days. So we're all working well together to try and get this money in as quickly as possible. Thank you, Ciara.
Thank you, Ciara. Minister, thank you for your detailed reply. And again, I acknowledge the efforts that you and your ministerial colleagues have made in getting the message out that this money is available and that there's a simple and speedy application process. Minister, quite rightly, the retail and hospitality were identified for particular assistance. Recently, I've been engaging considerably with small-scale manufacturing. They're facing particular challenges as well, and I'm sure that in the engagement that you will have with industry, particularly the smaller scale enterprises, and I know I spoke to Minister Cleary about this, and he's very conscious of the need to ensure that they get adequate support as well. I spoke to one employer recently. She told me she has something in the region of 30 employees. She said the three biggest problems facing her at the moment are the cost, sick pay, pensions, and access to finance and to credit. She says access to credit is a real problem for small-scale manufacturing. You take the businesses that are showing little or no profit on an annual basis, who have been struggling over the past number of years due to no fault of their own, but due to the different challenges that arose with increased costs of business, market disruption, COVID, pandemic, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, all of those, and the increased energy costs. So, Minister, I would like, again, if some particular emphasis could be attached to small-scale manufacturing, as you have quite rightly attached to small-scale hospitality and retail. And I know many of those, even with the assistance that government is given, still face particular challenges in trying to survive and make their businesses viable. Thank you, Ciara.
Thank you, Ciara. Again, I thank Deputy Smith for outlining his concerns in the sectors. And as you would have it, myself, Minister Cleary and Minister Higgins were discussing the issue about manufacturing yesterday at one of our meetings, and you are quite right. There are a varied number of issues that we're trying to respond to in that area. Having went around the country a lot since my appointment, one of the key areas too is space. That a lot of those manufacturing companies need quality units that they can do, and engineering as well, that they can do their work right around the country, right around the local authority network. So we'll have to have a look with Enterprise Ireland what we can achieve in that space. And as well as you point out the various different issues and costs, I would also say that due to the policies that you have supported and the government has implemented, our inflation is down, halved since November 2022. That shows that government policies are working. It's reducing the rate at which our prices are increasing rapidly. And you can see in the energy market, the wholesale market now, that energy, the wholesale price is reduced by 40%. but we need that passed on to businesses. We need it passed on to consumers. We have to work so hard to try and achieve that. So while those costs are there, we also have a very strong package to meet that. I would also point out that the 9% VAT rate is still in place up until the current budget, 31st of October, for a reduced VAT rate on gas and electricity. And also we have the energy efficiency grants of up to €10,000, where the employer only has to put up 25%. And I have been in shops which have told me, I was in Cashel looking at in the main street at Super Value, where they told me that by changing the refrigeration, by their LED lighting, the amount they can reduce their energy bill every month can be over €1,000. That improves cash flow. It leaves cash in businesses that we don't want to see leaving. So we will keep working on that trajectory and working in the areas that you quite rightly identify are vulnerable, because we will never take for granted the 2.8 million people that are employed in this country and the rate that our new businesses are opening up, a 10-to-1 ratio in the wider economy of company and corporations versus those going into liquidation.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I'd appeal to you again that you make a particular appeal to the finance houses to support small and medium enterprises. They're not doing that adequately at the moment. I'm very glad that you mentioned workspace and enterprise centres. I have been tabling questions after questions for years to your predecessors in regard to the need to adequately support local authorities or voluntary organisations in developing workspace. In my own two counties, we have seen firms grow who went into a small workspace in an enterprise centre. Go on, some of them are multinational firms today. I believe that adequate support should be provided to local authorities to at least acquire sites, develop them and put the accommodation in place. There's a great return for the Exchequer on such an investment. Local authorities like my own in Cavan and Manham, we have a very small rate space. We don't have the funding to support all enterprise that we wish to support as a local authority and as public representatives. So, Minister, the schemes that are in place at present, supported by Enterprise Ireland and other agencies as well, they're not adequate to ensure that we develop more workspace and enterprise centres in our towns and villages. And there's a demand for that workspace. I've had a number of inquiries in my own county town in Cavan, where there are small enterprises, but who need to go to larger space. They can't afford to develop the space themselves, and there's no space available, unfortunately. So it's an area I'd love to see addressed as well, Minister. Thank you, Cahill.
Thank you, Cahill. Again, thank Deputy Smith. I think you're quite right in the way you point out the pressures that our small manufacturing and engineering, and particularly the startups, are under in access to finance, because it is so important that they do get finance at competitive rates. I think in relation to helping existing SMEs with their working capital, the new Microfinance Ireland thresholds going from 25,000 up to 50,000. I know Minister Cleary is taking that bill through the Oireachtas now at the moment, which will be important to try and assist working capital with SME in that sector at low competitive rates. Around 14 credit unions, I think, now have embarked upon as agents of that fund, which will be very important. There's over €1 billion in it. But targeted measures at our new startups, because they are the new multinationals of the future. And you're absolutely right that local authorities haven't the capacity in many instances to try and deliver high quality space for that, and that's where our agencies like Enterprise Ireland come into play. So we will work with those agencies into the future to try and ensure that we are prioritising that, because we can never take our eye off the ball of innovation. High quality startups are those that we have to support. And I've been at many events. We have our decade old anniversary now of our LEOs, where the new strategy has been launched today as well. I think that will be an exciting time to reprioritise, to ensure that we are achieving that fertile ground for innovation to grow, and to ensure that we are creating the next multinationals of the future, because that is so important. The most important point you could arguably say there is access to finance is the lifeblood, and that's critical. So we'll do all we can to improve those conditions into the future.